live on Facebook. I don't see it on the other screen yet, but let's go for it. So welcome. We are, what episode are we? I think it's number 5, episode 5, here with Deb Oxby. You may recognize Deb if you're following these lives. We had a live in our Inner Strength group. But tonight, on this Inspired to Thrive episode, we're talking about how relationship resentment derails your results. And that could be results in your business, results for yourself, just results in relationship. It can be, it means different things to different people. And Deb has this wonderful triple R remedy that she's been telling me all about. And I'm so excited to try it for myself, and I'm sure you will too. So we'll get more into that in a moment. If you're there, please say hello. Let us know where you're coming from. Hi, Abby, I can see you there. Thank you for joining us. So I'm just going to turn the screen around a little bit, then I can see any comments that come up, but the guys will also help me with comments, which is fantastic. So any questions that you have, please pop them in the chat box, and I can ask Deb as we go through the session. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay, and again, tag us in any questions and we'll definitely get back to you with answers. So I'm not huge on introductions, but I just want to say that Deb Oxby is what I would call a relationship guru, founder of the Relationship Collective, marriage counselor and coach. And she works with, I think, individuals and couples in lots of different scenarios, helping them to reconnect and rebuild that beautiful, intimate connection. She's been, around for over 20, 30 years, I guess, without going into, ages and things like that, or an avid, I guess, supporter, similar to myself, this sort of never-ending learning, and developing and delving deep into the self-development world, shall we say. So it's wonderful to have you here with me, Deb. So getting into our topic for tonight, what I'd like to sort of really start by asking is, what have you been noticing or seeing, perhaps, in the environment in general, or with the clients that you're working with, around things that are going on, and how is it affecting what you're doing?
Oh, wow, Fiona. Hey, thanks for having me on. It's lovely to be here again with you, and hi to everyone part of your group. Look, there's a lot going on, as we all know, in the world today. There's a lot of different stresses and strains that we're all experiencing. And, I think there's an element of exhaustion and anxiety and, extra stress that people have in their lives, and extra worry, right? They're worried about what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen next week, am I going to have a job next week? So there's a lot of things, or how's my business going, if they're in business for themselves. So there's a lot of things going on, with the world climate at the moment, with all the change and all the really challenging things that we're facing. So what I'm really noticing is that there's this, it's almost like there's two schools of thought, or two ways of being that are happening. One is where, and I'm going to sort of predominantly talk about couples, I guess, but one is where the couples are really tolerant and have allowance for each other's differences. So, for instance, one might agree with something and one may have a completely different opinion, but there's an allowance for each other's differences. There's an allowance for each other's opinions. And within that allowance creates connection and togetherness and unity. And then there's the other school of, thought as such, where I'm really noticing also that the differences are creating disconnection, and not just disconnection, but really, deep wedges between them, or cracks in their foundation of their relationship. So it's like, I'm right and you're wrong, and I'm not interested in listening to what you've got to say. You're just wrong. And there's this real shutdown and withdrawal that seems to be happening with couples. And, it's really sad, because I've even heard couples considering breaking up because they have differences of opinion around the current climate and what we're facing right now. So it's really important that we're really mindful about, as a couple, how we're dealing with this. But I think also individually how we're dealing with this. You know, how are we showing up in our relationships, whether it be business or whether it be work, whether it be whatever it might be, right? Friendships.
Yeah, that's true. So true. Thank you for sharing that, Deb, and those insights. Melissa's joined us as well. She's excited to be hearing about what we're talking about tonight. So guys, again, if you have any questions or comments, like please, pop it in the chat group here. We're here to sort of, have a discussion, as well as obviously me talking, interacting with Deb here. So if you're, what's your relationship like at the moment? Are you feeling any resentment, in your own relationships, be it intimate partners, be it your business partner, whatever it is, are you finding that there are things that are coming up in relationships for yourself? We'd love to know. So please pop that in the chat if you have any comments or things that you'd like to make there. So Deb, in terms of, what you're seeing and noticing in, especially with this thing that hit me when you're saying there is that couples are shutting down, and having that sort of, is it more of a case of there's a protection coming around, perhaps one of the, they're just not wanting to let perhaps a difference of opinion in, I know we're not here to talk about, the coronavirus and all the vaccinations, all these sorts of things, but I know a few friends of mine where they have difference of opinions around, the vaccination of their children, for example, and I wonder that this is perhaps going to add more stress to relationships, isn't it? If they're not, congruent, if you like, for the well-being of their children.
Definitely. I think, if there's one thing that I would highly recommend for couples is to be in allowance of one another's differences, like really listen to each other's point of view. It doesn't mean you have to change your point of view, but being in allowance and listening to the other person, listening to what they've got to say, listening to it with validity, like, in their world, remembering that in their world, it's real. In their world, it's the truth. Your world, it's real for you, and your truth is your truth. It doesn't make either one of them wrong in that person's world. So it's like, I guess, what is the focus in your relationship with, whether it be a business colleague or whether it be a client or whether it be your partner or a family member or a friend? It's like, what is your truth and what is your focus around this relationship? Do you want it to be about, or do you want it to demise because of a difference of opinion? Or do you want to come together now in the time now, particularly in our current climate? We need to be supporting one another. We need to come together and be in community with one another, bringing back love and kindness and connection and being there for each other.
Yeah, I totally agree, because that's what we were talking about, in the topic of this is that, how is relationship resentment derailing, your results, your family, your relationship, whatever it happens to be. And it's, are you, I guess, coming, to the end of the track where the relationship is going to derail, so to speak, using that metaphor of the train? Or is there a way, perhaps using your, triple R remedy that we'll get into very shortly, of fixing or shoring up those tracks to make sure that you don't derail, both as an individual, with your own relationship with yourself, as well as your relationship with others?
Absolutely. I think first point of it, Fiona, is actually being really mindful about, I guess, first of all, who you want to be in the situation and how you want to show up in the situation. Like, lead by example. You be the best version of you in any scenario. You be, stand with integrity, stand with truth, stand with honor, and really listen to the other person. Be there in a space of are you listening to hear what they've got to say, or are you listening to put your 10 cents in? There's a big difference.
Absolutely,
right?
there really is. There really is.
Like chalk and cheese.
Yeah, that's so true. So that said, then what would be, I guess, yeah, so are we saying that the way to do this, or the way for us to stand in our truth and to, be congruent with who we are, is this what the Triple R remedy is about?
I think that it underpins you being able to stand in your truth and operate within integrity and within your own truth. If you have an empty cup and you're exhausted and you're stressed and you're really anxious about your life, your day, your kids, your family, your relationship, whatever it might be, and you're constantly worrying about these things, then it's easy for resentments to come in and to build and become more and more. It's easy. It's like what can happen. Whereas if we come to the first R in the Triple R is rest. So it's like, if you make sure that part of your day, every day, is that you're giving yourself 5, 10, 15 minutes of rest. That's away from your computer, that's away from the television, that's away from social media. Put the phone down. It's like outside in nature, and becoming aware, go for a walk, becoming aware of the beauty in nature around you, the trees, the fresh air, the wind on your face. Go into the garden, and if it's raining, go for a walk with an umbrella. Put a raincoat on and go for a walk and splash in the puddles. And
so it's really I guess what I'm hearing then is that the first R, this rest, is like a timeout. It's a timeout, a chance to turn off those perhaps external influences, wherever they're coming from, right? Like you said, the media, our work, even, relationship pressures, all sorts of things, and to get out and to to be with Mother Nature, really, to sort of rest our bodies, rest ourselves. So when we do this, what does it give us? What's the benefit of doing that you've noticed?
Well, there's two things. I think one, what happens is we're actually arresting ourselves. When we're constantly taking in the fear or, the doom and gloom of what's going on in the media at the moment, if you can just do a detox from the whole media thing. Yeah, well done. But, just do it for 2 or 3 days and then notice how you feel. Notice the difference. So resting the cells in your body, resting your mind, resting your spirit from all of the negativity and all of the fear and all of the drama will have a physical effect on you and an emotional effect. But what it does is allows you to, the second R is to reconnect. So it allows you to come home to yourself and to reconnect with yourself first and foremost.
Yep.
Then to reconnect with your partner, your loved one, or your children, and being there with each other, being present with each other, and reconnecting at a deeper level. And I just put a little a red stop sign here, is that this is not a time for you to get into conversation about topics that you have differences of opinion. This is a time for you to, go for a walk and splash in the puddles together, or kick a ball around the oval, or, go for a walk along a nature track or along the beach or beside the river. It's a time for you to reconnect and have some fun, and have fun together, laugh together, be silly together, like do things that, are silly.
Yeah.
Run and play, and the kids will love it if you have kids. Yeah. It's like in the joy we reconnect, right? So in the joy we start to reconnect with a different part of ourselves, number one. But then also with our partner, we start to remember, that's why I love them.
I love that. I think that reconnection is a beautiful way, and especially when, like you say, hey Mariana, thanks for joining us. I think that when if you take the time out to rest first, and I love that, the fact that we rest and we give ourselves our full mind, body, soul, that time to rest and to return to our own being, in a grounded nature or grounded thing. Mariana's just saying this is great advice, yet not many are practicing it. And I think that's true. I think a lot of us are getting, sideswiped or, absorbed by external influences. And that's the whole point, I think, of chatting tonight, is to try and remind ourselves as women, as mompreneurs, business owners, that we need to reconnect and take care of ourselves at the same time. And to do that reconnection, and I love that, to go and skipping down a lane, with your partner, just laugh and jump in the puddles. It doesn't matter if it's raining, just get an umbrella, snuggle under the umbrella or under a tree, if you get caught in a rainstorm. That's beautiful way to reconnect. I can envisage all of these, these things going on in my imagination. So yeah, I'll look forward to trying that out.
And, Fiona, that, some people, obviously in different states of Australia, people are in lockdown, so it's not possible for them to go and do some of these things. But it is possible to grab a board game and, lay on the lounge room floor and play a board game, or get some cards out and play some cards together, or grab the soccer ball and go in the back garden and kick the soccer ball around. Or, it's like, it's bringing the joy and the fun back into your life and giving yourself that, the opportunity to reconnect on that level. Because when we're surrounded with all the stress and the strain and the anxiety and the worry and the drama of it all, it's like that becomes the norm. So we want to break that up so we can have some fun and laughter. And
I agree, because even if, like you say, we're blessed here, we're not in lockdown, and my heart goes out to those of you that are. And yet, no matter the size of your backyard, there will be a postage stamp size, at least, of sunshine. You know what I mean? At some point in the day that you so choose, you can go out and chase around the garden. As the sun moves, the spot moves, make fun of it. So you can have that rest time, that reconnection with nature, just feeling the warmth of the sun, or the rain, whatever it happens to be, whatever element comes along. And have that time out just for yourself, so it allows you to be in a grounded space for reconnection. So I love that. So I'm dying to know now, what's the third R? What's the trifecta?
Well, it's actually, there's 2 R's, to be honest. There's 4 in total, but I've only shared 2 so far. The third one is revive. If you are resting your body, your mind, your spirit, and then you're reconnecting with yourself, with your partner, with your children, with your family, with your friends, and having fun and joy as part of that reconnection and happiness, then that revive happens all by itself. So, and if you are on a daily basis, regardless of what's going on out there in the world, if you're following these 3 steps, if you rest yourself even for 5 or 10 minutes, and that is turning all the stuff off, getting it, literally shutting it down, turning it off, turning it down, or out of the house. And spending that time resting and reconnecting, you automatically revive. It's not like you don't need to actually do anything. It happens magically by itself. And then when you are revived and you feel more full, your cup is more full, it's like you come to conversations with, difficult conversations or challenging conversations with a completely different level of tolerance, level of allowance, level of ability to hear the other person, to understand the other person, to be able to have a quality conversation, albeit it might be difficult, it might be challenging, but you're able to have that conversation from a completely different place. And, when you do that, when you show up in that revived place, that then ripples out into...
is that the 4th R, the ripple effect? I love it.
So then, then that ripples out into your business, into, if you are in business for yourself as a mumpreneur, it ripples out into your business. So then when you have conversations with clients, they're going to feel the energy too. They're not going to, you're not going to meet them with this real deflated, lackluster energy, there's going to be an up to your tone, and so your clients will feel that. And then obviously your bank balance will feel that. And then, bringing into your family or your love relationships, your relationship with your partner will improve because they're going to feel it. And definitely with your children. I mean, our kids will definitely show us when our cup's empty. So the ripple effect is really is magical. And like before, when we were talking about, like, right now, community in our world is so important. We need to be unifying as a race, as humanity. We need to be coming together and supporting one another. And, together we're strong, individually and separate, we're weakened. And that is in the family unit, in the relationship, in business. If you collaborate in business, you're way stronger. You're able to be way more successful. Many hands make light work, as they say. That beautiful acronym, working as a team, together each achieves more. It's like we need to be together, supporting one another, and really loving and nurturing one another from a different place. But it all begins here. Like, it all begins here in our own, with our relationship with ourselves.
I just love what you shared, Deb. That's very powerful, and I do agree with Mariana that so many people need to hear this message because it's just not happening. There's so much absorption in the outside world, those external influences that are just creeping into everyday life. It seems to be this heaviness of energy suppressing, so many things or truths, that we sort of believe, but we end up getting suppressed, and I think there's that heaviness of energy, and things become too hard, or it's too difficult, or it's I can't do this, and a lot of it becomes isolation, and people just do disconnect. So this is a beautiful way to reconnect to yourself, and then see, once you've done that, those ripples of reconnection throughout all of your relationships, and be it business, home life, intimate partners, children. It's beautiful. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
You're welcome.
Mariana saying that's what most people are unable to get. It starts with self. Yeah, that's right. It does. Because I think, well, as women, we're socially conditioned, aren't we, to be the nurturers, the caregivers, the the looking after everyone, the tribe, making sure we self-sacrifice as people pleasers. This is what we've been bred or brought up to believe is right. And whilst that they're all beautiful qualities, we can only do that so far if we don't take care of ourselves. And I think that's what those of you who know me, my whole functional selfish message is all about. It starts with us. It's like the oxygen mask, drops down. It's not, we have to take care of ourselves before we can take care of others, or we end up with the empty cup you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. And I think, Fiona, if you're really looking at, the oxygen mask metaphor, really they're talking about, when it's in times of stress, or, there's an emergency, that you put the mask on yourself first, right? Well, I think that we are in one of those times as a community, as a race, humanity is in one of those times globally. And so we need to be putting our oxygen masks on first. We need to be looking after ourselves and not getting caught up in all of the stuff that's on, the news. If you have to watch the news, just watch it once a day. Don't have it cycling. If you need to be, I understand some people need that, but like, really choose, be mindful about how is this information actually impacting me and my cells and my mind and my energy, and then the flow on of that. So being really aware, what are you allowing into your world, into your environment, into your space, into your home, into your relationship? Like, where are your boundaries for all of that?
That's very, very true. Again, boundaries is a huge topic, one that we could talk about for hours, I'm sure, Deb. And And sadly, so many people I connect with, it's clear that their boundaries aren't there, Okay, so here's Melissa's asking a question, Deb. What do you suggest for couples that are really busy during the week and don't have time for connection?
Look, I think, first of all, everyone is busy on some level. And I think you actually have to create the space. Like, you need to make a choice, like what is really important. And if connection in between a couple is important to them, then you will do what's required to create that space. So whether that be that you have a breakfast together, or whether that be that you go down to the beach, or you go for a walk along the river, or you play a board game, or whatever, it's like you will make the time for what is important. And so it's making that choice of going, you know what, I am going to make the time for us to be together, for us to connect and share. And, I think what happens and what I observe with couples is that they think that getting to, that them having couple time when they go out for dinner with another couple, or they, go for a barbecue at someone's house, that's not couple time. Couple time is, just you and your partner. And nobody else, and really it's really, I don't even think going to a movie, because then you're focusing on the movie rather than on each other. So it's really, and I think the other thing that's really important to note is not to talk about problems in that time. Like, it is not a time to sit there and go, well, you did and you didn't, and you said and you didn't. It's a time to actually really enjoy one another. Like I said before, splash in the puddles, like have some fun, laugh together, remember why you fell in love, remember what you love about each other, have some great conversation, but not about issues. Have a conversation. And if there's topics between you that are touchy, and you have differences of opinion, they stay out. They're not on your dates, because what happens is you end up then dreading the date, because you're worried about what kind of drama is going to happen on the date.
Yeah, okay. So would you recommend a weekly date night then, or something like that, or are these things, does that get too I guess I'm one for spontaneity, you know what I mean? I like just the surprise of whatever comes along, but I appreciate sometimes we have different things and routines that's not always possible, and different work schedules and things like that. But I guess I wonder if, would a regular date night just become too, oh yeah, it's date night tonight, type of thing, like too normal?
No.
No.
Simple answer. I think it's up to the couple to make it spicy and special, right? And take turns in organizing it.
Yeah.
And there's lots of things that I teach my clients around how to make date night fun and special, and not a drag, like you're saying. It's like
want it my Kama Sutra.
Yeah, yes. Well, it's like, it's up to the couple to make it special. And if they want to make it a bit spicy too, that's up to them, right? So, but it's important to make it a priority. And what I know to be true, and, whether it's business, whether it is, family events, whether it is, whatever it is, if it's not in the diary and it's not scheduled, it's usually not happening. And so I know the same to be true for couples and date nights. If it's not in the diary, it's not usually going to happen.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
It needs to be a regular event that is part of the foundation of your relationship. So that, and what it does in the relationship is it gives each other the indication that this relationship and you are a priority to me.
Yeah,
because I'm willing to put my Tuesday night out or my Sunday morning out or whatever, and no one's coming in the way of that time, because you're my special person and this relationship is really important to me.
Yeah, I love that. That's really good. Yeah, Melissa's saying date night works really well for them. And Mariana's saying yes, if it's scheduled, it gets done. So there's really some great points in that. So I think, does that answer your question, Melissa? I think it probably does, but please let us know if you've got any other queries or questions surrounding that. You are my priority. Oh, thank you, Mariana. I love being your priority. I think, and I think as well, that perhaps if couples, like for myself, for example, we don't live together, so sometimes we're not physically, together every single week. But I think you can still do things. You can have a phone date, right? Or you could have even a virtual meal together. I guess there's things we can do and get creative. So I'll certainly be putting my thinking cap on around things like that for myself and my relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I work with a lot of FIFO couples, Fiona, and one of the things that they have to do is have virtual, dates. And it's the big thing, I think, when there's distance between the two of you, on a physical level, is that you're totally present to one another when you are having those conversations. So you're not got Facebook going on the side or Instagram on the side, and the TV over in the corner, or even cooking, right? You can be chatting while you're cooking, but your attention's still not really there. And so then what happens is, when you put the phone down, you still feel empty on a connection level in some way, because you haven't actually had one another's presence.
That's so true. I can. There's times I notice that within myself. Yeah, it's like if one of us is distracted with something else. So that's a very, very valid point. And whilst that would always be done face to face, I can see times where it hasn't been the same on a remote. So I thank you for sharing that. I don't know if there's any more comments, guys, or any questions for Deb. If not, we'll probably bring this to a close. Is there anything else that you'd like to share, Deb, before we wrap this up?
I think really just like having the focus within yourself, like really asking yourself, like, what's really important to me? What's really important to me in my relationship, in my life, in my friendships, in my business? What's really important to me? And then focusing on those things. And in this time where there's all this chaos and everything going on the outside, make sure that you have really strong boundaries around you and all of the things that are going on outside. Make sure that if you don't have them, no one else will. So you are the keeper of your own your own safety, your own mental health, your relationship connection. You are the keeper of that. So like making sure that you are the ones that are holding the boundary around you, your family, and your the things that are important to you. That's close. And just unity, like come together, be together, love one another, care for one another, support one another, and be an allowance of our differences. And just because there is a difference of opinion or a different belief doesn't mean that we're not worthy of love, that the person is different. Their belief is different to who they are. Yeah, it's like, don't collapse the two together. Oh, that person believes this and it's something different to what I believe. Oh, they're no good anymore. I'm not going to talk to them, or I'm not going to be around them. That's not who we are as humanity. Like, yeah. Sorry,
love it.
Now.
No, you're not at all. I think these are all. They're all, we could take this conversation for hours, in so many different directions. And I think that the way that society is at the moment, the world is, what we're observing, with international things, the whole medical virus situation. There's just so much where this conversation could go. But I think you're right. We all have our own sets of values and beliefs. Often, until we wake up, we when we realize that those beliefs and values aren't our own, they're what we've been encultured into, and that's a separate journey. But that you're right, even within our friendships, our partners, we all believe different things, and it's having that understanding and just meeting people where they are, those that we love, without judgment, and I think that's really very, very important, very valid points that you make. So thank you so much, Deb, for sharing with us tonight.
You're welcome.
I've really enjoyed once again chatting with you, and I'm sure you'll be back. lots more knowledge to impart with us. Sorry, I should say.
I just got another.
So thank you. Sure.
Another R. So there's rest, there's reconnect, there's revive, there's ripple, and there's return to love.
Oh, I love it. Return to love. Beautiful. Return to love for self and others. Yeah. This is, self-love, we know, is the key to everything. Really.
100%.
Yeah. Certainly is. What a beautiful note. Return to love to end on tonight.
Thanks.
I think we'll leave it exactly there. It's perfectly meant to be.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Beautiful.
All right. Thank you.
If anyone wants to connect with me, they can, look up on my website, or I'll pop my link below. Or whatever.
Yes, please do that, Deb. Just share in the comments here your your Facebook group, your page, whatever it is you've got to share. Anything that's really good. And Mariana saying thank you Melissa saying thank you very much. Return to love, lots of golden nuggets for us all. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thanks, Melissa. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.